Hi, it's Mary.
And Tina.
And Maryna.
And this is Bird Barf!
Yay!
Alright, so this is the first week of November, which means that it is also the second day of NaNoWriMoooo. So
And the death of Halloween.
That's true. Yeah, now we're heading off of that. But NaNoWriMoooo is really exciting, which is National Novel Writing Month. I really love NaNoWriMoooo, and NaNoWriMoooo is a lot of fun because you do get to write. You're supposed to write 50,000 words in a month.
Whoever decided to put it in November, though, they need to get a talking to.
That's true. It's really kind of a crappy time if you're doing anything within the realms of education. But whatever, we kind of make it work. Someday, Maryna, when she's not doing 1,000 things, Maryna's going to do it too.
Papers due in November.
That'll be super exciting. And I'll get Tina to do it because eventually she'll bottom peer pressure. So because of that, we thought that this would actually be a really good point to talk about books that we found particularly affecting. So this can be recent books. Mine's a lot older, so I'm going last. But otherwise, just books that we thought were really interesting for one reason or another. So I'm going to start with Tina. So go ahead. What was a book that you thought?
This year, Mary and I are doing a 50 books a year challenge, so
Yes,
I decided to just go with one of the books I've read so far. Hopefully I finished 50 books a year challenge, whatever. I decided to read a book by an author that I've really liked for a while. Her name is Jocelyn Jackson. The book is called Backseat Saints, and it's basically about this girl or this woman who is in an abusive relationship and her really fucked up kind of emotions and feelings and relationship and interactions with her husband and her estranged mother who kind of abandoned her as a child. It's a really good book. It's kind of intense. A lot of random books I've been reading lately have been really intense. Yeah. Another one, what the fuck is the other one that I was...
Missing? Something missing?
Still missing. Also really fucked up. Not going to review that now, but just gonna throw that out there. Look into it if you're into really fucked up kind of mind fucks.
Very descriptive, thank you.
Yeah, but anyway, Jocelyn Jackson, she does really well, with most of her books take place in the South and, are characters that were raised in the South and kind of, a more Southern mentality, which for me, having grown up in the Midwest and Chicago, is fascinating because I don't have that same mentality. But her characters are really strong. So far I've read most of her books. I haven't read some of her most recent ones, but they're all really good, so I recommend reading any of them. Except for the ones I haven't read, which you don't know.
She might not recommend those, we're not sure yet.
Not a blanket
read them and let me know.
Yeah.
Alright, groovy, thank you. Maryna.
Alright, so I chose something I read this past year too because, my goodness, to pick a book that's been affecting to me in my whole life. Oh my god, what? Yeah. No, that's not going to happen. So a book this year that I thought was really interesting, sadly, this is going to be part of my dissertation, so it's going to get real academic in a sec. Hold on.
Brace yourselves.
Brace yourselves. Is a series of young adult novels, because that's what I do, so suck that up too and deal with it. By A.G. Howard, called Splintered. So they're basically takes on Alice in Wonderland, but what I really like about them is that they're not really the strict adaptation of Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland. They're more adaptations of what would be called in Victorian literature the anti-Alice tradition, or sort of the other Alice tradition. There's a lot of different names for it. Alternative Alice, those kinds of things. And what those are is basically riffs on Lewis Carroll that sort of take issue with the fact that Lewis Carroll was a male author writing a young female character into a world in which she had no control, and to which, when she was returned at the end of the story into her real world, she was also placed into a position where she was again lost her agency based on age and gender and all these things. And so these stories that were written in the Victorian period by women writers sort of take back Alice and give her control of her story. And Splinter does very much the same thing with the Alice tale, and even kind of brings Lewis Carroll and other sort of not just male authors but writers in general to task for how they control their characters and manipulate them in the story scene. So it's a very interesting novel. There are parts of it that are problematic, particularly with a love triangle situation that we've heard about a million times in YA, but hey, whatever, that's okay. But the fact of just the meta moments are really interesting, and I'll be presenting on it in a conference this exact week, so stay tuned.
We'll hear how she goes. We'll let you know.
Yeah. Anyway, the end.
Yay.
Mary, what was your book?
The book I really remember kind of sticking with me was something called A Great Deliverance by Elizabeth George.
Where the fuck did that come from?
That book?
No, it's your decision to talk about that.
I told you about this.
Well,
Okay,
our
whatever.
listeners want to know.
Like, this is the point, because when I was in high school, we had to read a whole bunch of books. And because we had to read, like, so many books all the time, I really didn't want to read anymore. It was the first time in a long time when I read it that I felt that connected to a story again, where I'd read and I'd been so gripped by it that I just kept reading until I finished the whole thing in like 3 hours. And I was like woozy from reading too long. And that hadn't happened in a while. And so it was something I remember just getting an immense satisfaction out of that book. And that's the kind of thing that, you know, I look for still now, where you read those books and you just can't put it down because you're so obsessed with it. And so I remember just, you know, that book was... That one stuck with me. I'm not sure I'd necessarily recommend it to everybody, but...
Alrighty.
All right. Well, that was Bird Barf.
Yay!
Yay.
We give all these books barfs of satisfaction because they made us really happy.
Yeah, so you should go read them now.
All right.